Look at that beautiful sunrise this morning. Today, I'm putting myself out of my comfort zone. I'm bringing you with me for a little walk in the woods here in West Wicklow and having a little bit of a one-to-one and just a chat, and who knows, you might see some sheep, you might see a bit nice bit of some nice birds. I don't know if a falcon or an eagle I saw the other day while I was driving around here, but I just thought I'd have a chat and talk about life, talk about me a little bit, because it's one of the strange things about getting out of your comfort zone. For me, and a lot of people I think, is speaking to the camera and trying to talk to people through this medium that we have now, which is a totally different landscape to what we're used to in life. Trying to connect to people in a different way. So we'll obviously talk a little bit about music as well. This is a bit of a raw type of vibe, but look how beautiful that is. Isn't it so pretty? I'm so blessed to be living here in Ireland. I think one of the funniest things about being in Ireland is actually being able to appreciate the beauty that surrounds us every single day. For example, when I used to live in Dublin City, even when I did my morning routines, where I just do like 5 minutes of breath work, it wasn't like a 50-minute long thing. It was more so just trying to appreciate the beauty that surrounds us, even if it's a small bit of beauty. Now I'm quite blessed. Look at this. I come here in the mornings. It's a bit chilly today. It's very frosty this morning, but I do come here in the mornings, and there's a little bench up there. I do a little bit of breath work. So I said I would take you guys with me today, and maybe we can appreciate a bit of this together and talk a little bit about music as well. I was speaking to a friend of mine, a really, really good friend of mine, who became a bit of a spiritual mentor a couple of years ago. And when I was talking to her yesterday, we were talking about how when you sit down and listen to what your calling is, or listen to what makes you truly happy, or an energy or frequency that resonates with your heart and with your soul, what is that thing? And it's so funny, because whenever in my life I have to sit down and ask myself that question, it always comes back to music. Always. It's one of the only things I do where I feel my brain switches off. And I did a little post on this yesterday on my Instagram about how I recharge. And lots of people have different ways of recharging, but I find, maybe it's because my parents are musical, that it gives me a little bit of escapism from the everyday stuff that bogs us down. You know, a lot of us work really hard, and in today's society you have to work like ridiculously hard to have kind of a good life, especially in an economic environment that we're in now. Look at all these beautiful trees. This is amazing. Sometimes I do stop and I'd be thinking, how long? Like, we think about the lifespan of a human. When you think about the amount of time that these trees have been around, or this nature has been here, it just makes us all I feel like a bit of an ant sometimes. But I was saying that in this economic kind of state we're in, where you're trying to get by, and it's quite tough, especially if you're in your 20s or 30s, you have to work very hard to try and get by. And for me, I've always worked at least one job since I was a teenager, but recently I kind of had a realization where I was like, okay, I'm working my 9 to 5, it's a pretty full-on job, but what am I doing outside of that maybe in the future, might be 10 years, might be 15 years, whatever it might be, that I can work on, that feeds my soul a bit more. And when I had that honest question and that honest sit down with myself, I was like, music. It's always been music. And the funny thing is, people say, oh, where'd you get the time to do all these things? A good trick or a good hack for people to figure out where they can find the time is going into your settings on your iPhone and checking how much time you spend on social media, or your screen. I think it's a screen time app or something, and you can check how much time you spend on certain apps, and you'll see Instagram 8 hours a week, for example. It's probably more than that for a lot of people, or TikTok or whatever it might be, just doom scrolling. And if you see that there's 8 to 10 hours a week spent aimlessly wasting your time on consuming content, what I would say is try producing content instead. So if you look at any of my videos that I do, my tutorial videos trying to add value, it might take me 1 or 2 hours a week to edit those videos. Might be 30 minutes a day, might be 45 sometimes, it depends. But I'm basically just reassigning some of that time to, I'm sorry guys, this is so beautiful. Like, isn't that gorgeous? Isn't God incredible? The universe incredible? Anyway, I'm reassigning some of my time and putting into something that I want to produce, and hopefully could start reshaping my life into something that I love and something that I feel feeds my soul, as opposed to just feeding these algorithms and feeding the social media machine. Now, of course, I like the doom scroll a bit from time to time, like everybody else does, and I like to switch off. It does help sometimes, I find, when I'm getting too stressed, to be like, okay, I just need 30 minutes, but set a timer or something, and then start reassigning your time towards something a bit different. And like I said, what I would do is reverse engineer to what you really love in life. And I was saying this to my partner the other day, that, you know, there's people out there and they're literally making content on whatever. Think about the most ridiculous thing that people love. Shoes, cleaning shoes. There's somebody out there making a solid living. I'm talking about 100 grand plus a year from doing videos online about cleaning shoes, redesigning shoes. And we're in a time now that if you could just commit, even like say 10%, 20% of your doom scrolling time, whatever it is you love, you're not sacrificing time with your family, you're not sacrificing time from your work, you're still giving it all there. It's really important to do that, I believe. But instead, you're reassigning that wasted time to something productive. And sorry guys, this is my first video as well, so in this style of content. So if I'm speaking a bit funny or my nose is a bit red, it is very cold and frosty this morning. I do apologize. Essentially, you just have to reassign your time to something that you love. And I could just be doing 1 or 2 small things a day that slowly compounds over time. Look, sorry, I'm getting distracted here. Isn't that awesome? So it's all about just trying to figure out what it is that makes you happy and dedicating time to that instead of something that you find you might be wasting your life with. And it's about being self-aware as well. That's one of the hardest things, is actually sitting down and having self-belief and self-awareness to say to yourself, what is it that makes me happy? What is it that I can do that if I was to totally change my life in the next 10 years, I know 10 years seems like a long time, but if you just do little bits every day towards what your long-term goal is, because even despite all this craziness that's going on in the world, the fact of the matter is, you're still going to be around. And if you just have that long-term vision, it can really pay off. So I would just recommend thinking about how you can reevaluate how you spend your time, what it is that makes you truly happy. And think about it this way. If we're in an environment in the world now, like I said a while ago, where you can literally do anything in life. In terms of your passion, I think we all have a calling. I saw somebody reviewing some food the other day. Like, people look at food reviewers. They are literally building an audience around reviewing food. And can you imagine that if 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, you had said to people would be running around going to takeaways, Chinese shops, pizza slice places, and getting to travel the world and live their dreams, and they're millionaires from it. You'd be like, no way, that is impossible. Yet here we are. There's people actually doing this. I'm getting redder and redder as we go because it is very frosty up here in the Wicklow Mountains. Well, it's not really a mountain here, it's more like a woods, but it is kind of hilly, so I apologize once again if I'm a bit out of breath. yeah, it's about just doing the thing and being consistent with it. It's not about doing loads. That's one thing I'm starting to learn. I used to burn myself out a lot, and I figured out that the best results and the best progress that I've seen is the things that I do little bits of every single day that make a big difference to my life in the long term. Look at these fields now, these open fields. Usually there's loads of sheep in here, but we don't have any sheep today. Look at this. These creepy woods. I'm actually not a big fan of going up there, but nonetheless, we trek on. This is quite funny, guys. I didn't think that. I just said today how beautiful this was. I said I'd capture it and maybe just talk a little bit about myself, because we all have this beliefs. We all tell ourselves we're not good enough. That's not possible. It's kind of like a safety mechanism. As humans, we're always trying to stay safe, stay alive, try to deter ourselves from doing anything that's not considered safe, especially in a social environment. So what I'd recommend is, and I could be totally wrong, but I think I'm being proven more and more right all the time. When I see people selling Pokemon cards for millions of euro, it's like, whoa, you know, you should not be jealous of those things. You should let those things motivate you and be like, look, anything is possible. And the more we believe that, the more happiness will come, I think. Look at this. It's so, like, come on. I'm so lucky. I just feel blessed. And you can live, like, these things are free. These beautiful things in everyday life are absolutely free. But, you know, if you want security in this world and you want to do something you love and find happiness on the other side of things, it's important that you just invest a bit of your time. So maybe some of that screen time you waste on certain apps into yourself, into producing instead of consuming. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today, and get a quick video up, share a little bit about myself and why I'm putting an emphasis on music a bit more now in my life, that I'm growing up and starting to realize who I really am and what I truly love. So if you tuned in, if you're still watching, if you're enjoying this beautiful sunrise with me, thank you. And if you want to see more stuff like this, you know what to do. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.